in the room tonight, I found a parking space plus 3 others still open in the parking lot next door. So I'm struggling to understand the need for more space. And then on top of that, one of the representations was made on savings on utilities by consolidating things. You're more than doubling the overall space. You're going to essentially a 1-story building, which loses heat and air conditioning more rapidly than a 2-story building. So just a lot of thoughts relative to justifying this. And as a long-term resident, as a taxpayer, I would really like you not to purchase the Rodale property.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. My name's Ed Hilligus, 660 Harrison Street, Emmaus. I'd like to thank you for the fine and detailed presentation, and you threw out a lot of numbers. Guy my age, I forgot half the numbers you mentioned tonight. So I'm going to basically say that what you have this evening is a 10-year plan. And your 10-year plan depends on finding a buyer for your current building before you move on. The Rodale building has been vacant for X period of time, a year plus, 2 years maybe. So your 10-year plan, if you don't find a buyer for each building, can now be 12, 14, 16, or 18 years. And then while you're in the middle of this, we're going to have some inflation. That's one concern. The other concern is your current locations for your fire and ambulance are close to the schools, Jefferson, Lincoln, and high school. There's some East Penn taxpayers that might, if there's an occasion where there might be a concern, might file a lawsuit because you failed to respond in time. My other concern is you have one central location. You will have now a potential for a tragedy which can wipe out your police, your ambulance, and your borough in one stroke. Meaning if you have a fire, meaning if your railroad, hazardous material, derails, chemicals, you can't operate because you have no office. And the other one might be far stretched, but it could be some hostility, and now you're wiped out. Where you have your locations now, you can move from one location to another. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Did you sign your name, sir, on the document that's there? Would you
Yeah,
please
thank you.
sign that?
Hi, I'm Lynn Donches at 559 Minor. I just had one point, almost a point of information. In a couple of questions were about the taxes washing each other out, like if that building would be purchased and these buildings would be sold. Is there any way that you're allowed to advertise buildings for sale and say that a nonprofit cannot be in the running for the building? Because if we sold to like a church or another nonprofit or something, then we wouldn't gain any tax revenue from the buildings.
Mr. Solicitor?
The answer is that you would have to have it open, but you have no obligation to rent to a tax-free entity. I mean, you just make that decision, and that is not discriminatory.
What about selling?
To sell to.
Sell the building.
I'm sorry?
Can you
To sell
exclude
to.
the sale of a building to a nonprofit? So that way, essentially.
Like
you
if a
can
church
protect
wanted it or
you
something.
protect the tax.
The answer is, in reality, you can.
You can.
In reality, you can, yes. I would not advertise it that way, but in reality, you can.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else?
Good evening, everyone. My name is John Zettelmoyer. I reside at 53 North 3rd Street in the borough of Emmaus. And I'm not only a resident, but I'm also a business owner and obviously a taxpayer in the borough of Emmaus. And just in a way of full disclosure, so that everyone here knows, I'm also an appointed official of the borough of Emmaus, too. I'm a member of the Emmaus General Authority. But I'm here in my private capacity as a resident and taxpayer and business owner. I know Mr. Geiger, and I have a great deal of respect for him. I've had business with him in the past. He may not remember, but I do. And but I have a question concerning the feasibility, Mr. Geiger, of the sale of buildings such as the Central Station and the police station, which were specifically built for a particular purpose, and whether or not they would be required to be refitted, perhaps, in order to make them attractive enough to sell. Do you have an opinion with your expertise as to when or how much time that might take in order to affect the sale of those businesses? Because I believe that that would have a great impact on how this project, is spread out over a period of time.
Good question. Obviously, they are special purpose buildings, which means that they have a limited market, a limited amount of demand. One can never foresee what type of buyer would come forth for what type of use, but let me try to drill it down to some specifics. And forgive me if I've forgotten the name of it, but right off I-78 309 over the South Mountain, I believe it was the Oakhurst Medevac Emergency Ambulance Corps or something similar in name, was just appraised by me perhaps 2 years ago, and it was sold in under 6 months, and the buyer was the Lehigh Valley Hospital Network. In Forks Township, there was another similar ambulance building to what you have on North 6th Street. This story goes back a couple of more years ago, and that was sold in under 9 months to a religious organization. We could go back further, and I could cite you some other examples. You don't know what's going to come in the door, but in general, and this really regards real estate valley-wide, in my opinion, and I make this statement often. If you haven't sold it in a year, you're asking too much. Simple as that.
So if I may just follow up, Mr. Geiger, in your opinion, those are not guarantees with respect to the presentation that Mr. Pepe made this evening
That is correct.
concerning how long this project may take?
Yeah, their opinions, yes.
Okay. I do have a concern about the railroad tracks. I really do believe that that's something that has to be seriously factored into your decision. And I know that we looked at the graphs that showed where most of the, police, ambulance, and fire calls are made and that sort of thing. But if you put yourself sort of into a corner and then you try to get out of it and you're not able to get out of it, it could cause some harm to someone. And that's not an unreal possibility. That's a possibility that I think that you need to entertain. Whether it's probable or not that that will occur, none of us knows. I was standing in the back of the room thinking, does it make a difference in which direction the particular train is running? Is it running east to west or west to east, because they go in both directions? And you really wouldn't consider Klein Lane or 2nd Street as primary, crossings, but you have 4th Street. So if the train was moving east to west, it would cross Klein Lane first and get to 4th Street or South 10th Street after that. And some of these trains are quite long. I know that you probably have all experienced that. I have, in waiting for them, wanting to cross. So that's why I think this is important, because all we have to do is have one problem that occurs. And 53 North 3rd Street is just catty corner from the high-rise. And I see the the fire police, the fire trucks, and the ambulance responding there, maybe not on a daily basis, but several times a week at least. And you're putting yourselves on the other side of the tracks with respect to those calls. And I don't know if they're important calls or not, except that these are the vehicles that are responding. So I'm a little concerned about not giving the public what I consider to be an adequate period of time to consider all of this. Whether I would join in some of the statements that were made that perhaps you should have provided this at an earlier point in time. I'm talking about the information that Mr. Pepe provided this evening. I don't want to speak to that. All I know is that I'm coming in here and I probably have a number of questions that I've not asked because I'm not sure what they are yet, and because I haven't had the time to evaluate the information that has been provided this evening. And I don't know if any of you feel that way at all. I would hope that you do, because I don't consider that statement to be an unreasonable one, considering when I first learned that this meeting was going to be held and the little information that I had about the content that was going to be presented this evening. But anyway, I did enjoy the presentation, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Anyone else? Last call. No one? No. You had your chance. Anyone else? Gentlemen? Mr. Brown?
I want to just thank everybody for coming out tonight. This is definitely a very difficult decision to make on this side. One thing that I do want to address is, my pastor has always shared with me to be future-focused and joyfully flexible. Sometimes when you're future-focused, you're not joyfully flexible. Things like this, and when it comes to dollars and cents, is not fun. But I believe in the future of this borough. I think this is something this council has, over the years, has changed course. The one thing that you can say, that the leadership of this council, there's no underhandedness, there's no undermining. We get along. We work together as a team. There's no R's, there's no D's. We work for the benefit of you, the taxpayer, and for me, the taxpayer. One thing is the response time. What do we do with the response time? Does it go up 1 minute? Yes. But also in other townships that I work in, multiple townships throughout the eastern state of PA, they have 16-minute response times, 14-minute response times. I think we're very blessed to have 4-minute response times. Every call is important. Is the railroad tracks an issue? I think the railroad tracks are here, and they'll be here when we're gone. They'll always be an issue. Let's face it, right? But the thing is that right now, if they go on a call, in my opinion, is they go on a call, they get stopped at 6th going south, they get stopped at 6th Street, they have to go to 4th Street. And the fire trucks can't get under 10th Street, if I'm not mistaken. They have to go over 4th Street. Every call is important. The tracks are going to be there. To say that the trucks cannot navigate the streets, I think is a little misleading, because every truck has to get there. We depend on our ladder truck. We did that with Broad Street. We put the ladder truck on Broad Street when we put the islands in. Don't forget, the square miles of this borough is only 2.859. We're only moving about a half a mile away. It's just difficult for me to sit here and watch my fellow employees and my fellow staff members having a space heater, having literally 2 people to open one of these doors or one of these windows. And when I am in the private sector, yeah, I do have better facilities, absolutely. But I think this council is future-focused, and we're joyfully flexible. We're getting our infrastructure done. We're getting our dollars in place. As you see this year, we're doing very well. It took us some time, but I think that together, we've been working together. I think we all have a very difficult decision tonight. This decision wasn't, for me, wasn't done in the past 2 hours. I've been mulling this over since August. So to make this decision in haste, that's not true for me. I've been going over, I've been talking to my residents. They might not be here tonight, but yeah, the number one issue was the police station. You guys bought a new police station. You know, that's not future focused. But the one thing is that we are moving forward. And I believe that this is a situation that I think would benefit us 100 years from now. I appreciate it, Madam President, for the time.
Thank you. Mr. Leidenberg.
I too would like to thank the public and everyone that spoke and asked questions and gave their comments. I appreciate that, a couple of which I did not think of, although most of them were discussed already with this council. And I also like to thank the architecture firm for coming out and our appraiser for explaining and helping us out with information. When I first heard about this, I was dead set against it. Then I got a tour of the building, and everything changed because this borough can be so much more efficient having all the operations at one location. As an example, billing. We currently have billing at ambulance. We have billing here. I'm not sure if we have billing at the police station or not, but and the fire department. So we have four separate billing right now. They will all be located in one spot with one supervisor, and it'll be following all the same policies and not different policies in different buildings. So it will be much more efficient. There's other issues and questions I have. One is 120 days enough time after we vote for this and sign the contract? Is 120 days enough time to get all our ducks in order in a row and make sure that we have our funding and everything? 120 days is enough?
We could do it, but we'd have to start tomorrow. We talked to their real estate people. They're the ones that, again, Rodale has requested that it close within 120 days. Our more feasible time period is 180 days. Our legal counsel is going to speak with theirs. But if you're going, the time period really, like, why it would take longer is if you were to get a bond rather than a conventional mortgage. That takes a little bit more time. We'd be pushing 120 days.
Would they be willing, you think, in your opinion, to be flexible with adding another 30
I
or
think if they're going to hear we're going to
60 days?
spend $2.95 million and hand to them, I think they'd probably consider giving us another 60 days. But
Right.
I can't speak for them.
Some of the notes that I made, this is long-term. I mean, this is going to be there the next 50 years, if not 100 years, which I think makes more sense, too, having it at one location, because current buildings, to address Mr. Yopes, yes, maintenance fell behind. So did the roads. If everyone recalls, 2009 was very hard on every municipality, probably in the country, if not just in our county. We had climbed out of that hole. I mean, this is the first year we had cash carryover of, what, $600,000? Where maybe the last 3 years, we're lucky if we carry $50,000 from year to year. And we struggled to have roads paved, general maintenance, all the above, as all municipalities have. I hope you read the newspaper and pay attention to those things. But things have been getting better. And I just give you another example as far as, you know, trying to stay on top of things and infrastructure. When you have something like a culvert go down and you have a $600,000 bill just for a culvert, you know, those take away. I mean, we don't even spend $600,000 on our roads every year, and one culvert just took, you know, all your capital improvement projects away in one swoop. So I just want to say things are getting better, and it's thanks to our management and our department heads and our employees. They all contribute to lowering the costs and making this borough more efficient. And I think this is going in that direction. One thing I would like to see in our future plans for this, moving all the departments there, is there is potential for future underpass under the railroad tracks like we do on 10th Street at this location. It may not be 5 years, it may not be 10, and there is grant money, if I'm not mistaken, from the railroad. There is grant money for such things.
Our understanding is that they do provide some level of funding for things like
Okay,
that.
my hope would be that we would set up plans with the understanding that that will happen in the future, so that we don't spend all this money on a project and then find out we want to put it there and we can't because of the way we set it up. And if that's possible, I would like to see that. One thing that wasn't mentioned, when you saw the photos, you saw all the contents that were in the building. Those are in there now, and all the things that we do not need, we will be selling, correct? That will generate more revenue also. It was mentioned by Nate, if they come from Central Fire Station now and there's a train at 6th Street, they have to go around now to 4th Street. So, I mean, the train already affects our service. Mentioned that, you know, they're closer to the schools now. Well, it's also going to be closer to another school. Granted, it's not a very big school, it's a charter school, but it still is right there. It's going to be closer to some other residents where they were further away before, so it will benefit some other residents more than current operations now. Mentioned about losing tax revenue. Well, that tax revenue can be made up also with leasable space in the building. I know there were comments made that we shouldn't be competing with private businesses, but if the borough has more space than they need, I think it'd be just wrong for us to let it sit there not in operation. I think that would be not in the best interest of the taxpayers. Also, there was mentioning about the landlord and what they would be, we would be responsible for the building, or there can be ways of writing the lease where they are responsible for whatever space they're leasing. That's the way it currently is now, that they're responsible for all costs. One thing that we want to do also is, and I didn't hear this mentioned, maybe it was, that we want to run natural gas to the building, and that will decrease our costs probably 10,000 plus. I mean, when you add all these individual buildings and the heating units and the oil deliveries, and it will be one facility, one unit, all natural gas. Almost finished. As far as discussions and things being addressed, there is going to be a committee of all departments, all council members, and members of the public, and all these issues will be addressed. We're very big on committee structures here in the borough. We do a lot of work in the committee structure before it even comes to the borough council chambers, and I expect it to be the same way with this project. Then one other thing, it mentioned that how long has Rodale been sitting there vacant? Yes, it's been sitting there vacant for a long time, but it's only gone on the market in August. It was not sitting there vacant for sale all this time. It just went on sale on the market in August. Am I correct on that? So it's not like it's been sitting there empty for sale. It just went on the market in August. And my biggest concern with the fire department and ambulance, not necessarily the police, because the police patrols are already out on the street, is the Stryer section, basically, and I live on that side. And if there were to be an emergency where they have to go all the way around, that is a concern, and that would probably be the worst-case scenario. I think most people would agree on that. But we could also have arrangements with maybe Salisbury Fire Department, who is on Emmaus Avenue, or even maybe the Allentown Fire Department. And those are things that maybe can be worked out ahead of time that if there is a train, that you notify them right away, and maybe they can respond. Just a thought. I don't know if that is doable or not, but I'm just throwing that out there. And the only other thing that was brought up that I did not think about is the ladder truck making turns off of Minor Street. And I would assume that our department heads and our fire department would be doing studies on that. And if they're not able to make it where cars are parked out now, maybe you have to back off on a parking space or two for them to be able to make turns. And that's all I have to say. Thank you for listening to me, and I do support this, and I think this will make the borough more efficient. One other thought, it's the community room and community meeting rooms. I think that is sorely needed in this borough, and that will be also another source of revenue in this borough. I'm sure people like having family functions, and not only family functions, but borough functions, and that will be, I think, used heavily. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else on council want to make a comment? No? I'd just like to thank everyone for coming this evening. This is a very difficult decision for us all to make. We have spent time researching. We've listened to Mr. Pepe. We've listened to Mr. Geiger, and we've listened to the architects. Tonight, we have to make a decision one way or the other. Is anybody willing to make a motion at this point? Mr. Labenberg?
I make a motion that we enter into agreement with Rodale to purchase their building for $2.95 million.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Brown. Discussion? Mr. Anders?
Just a hypothetical. I know it says we have till the 19th, and we have a council meeting on the 19th. If we did not vote on this evening, could it go to that council meeting and then be decided, and maybe give the public some other time to digest the information?
Due to our 30-day time period, we need to make that decision tonight. Our 30 days are up tomorrow, on the 19th, and if we're going to go after grant money, we need to start that paperwork.
Okay, very good.
Any further discussion?
Just one question.
Mr. Shubstead?
Yep. This is for Shane. Shane, according to my notes here, the $2.5 million that you estimated there, that's based on the renovation costs that we would need to cover, correct?
Correct. What we were told at meeting where we had met with our architects was the number was 3.4, but you can knock off a third if you were to do the work in-house. So
Okay.
that comes out, that's where the 2.5 would come from.
And then that cost, we would have to figure out where that cost would come from,
Oh, as
based on the sales of,
the majority of it would come from the basis off the sales.
okay,
Yes.
thank you.
May I ask Mr. Pepe another question?
Mr. Anders?
If, per se, the school were to pull out after 2 years, how are we to ensure that we have enough to cover that without?
Well, and that's why it was listed as a risk in the
I agree.
presentation.
Agreed.
Because, that's something where you have to think about that. You're talking about, depending on the 2% bond or if it's a 3.29% loan, you're looking at between $150,000 to $170,000 a year that you'd have to make up and pay for that until you found someone else to be a tenant. So you'd have to make that up one way or another. Now, whether that's you put money in escrow, that's something that you'd have to decide. But it was labeled as a risk. Now, do we have some inside information as to what their intentions are? We might. We can't obviously say what they want to do. We would want to begin discussions with them as soon as you would close on the building. So that way,
We can hopefully lock them in.
yeah, or at least know what their future thoughts are.
Any further discussion? Comments, questions, concerns? Mr. Brown?
If we do go forward with this, I just want to just implore just to everybody here tonight, just that we do it together, that we stick to the plan. And that's, for me, that's the biggest thing, is sticking to the plan. That's the biggest risk I feel, because people get voted out, people get voted in. and they don't stick to the plan. You know, different ideologies come through. For me, that's the biggest risk. I think the dollar thing is available to us, and I believe that's going to come through. But we got to stick to the plan, work together, stay future focused, stay joyfully flexible, and I think we're going to win. I think this borough's going to win. I think everybody's going to win. I think we're going to be here for years to come.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? We got 6 ayes. Those opposed? Mr. Schubst is opposed. Mr. Pepe, do you need anything further from us this evening?
Attorney Dimick, is there anything?
No, because Shane had talked to me previously, and because of the limited time constraints, I already drafted a proposed, like, 30-page agreement of sale. It's a quite complex document. It is in the hands of Rodale's attorney.
Legal counsel.
I've also ordered and received the 3 title searches on the 3 tracts of lands, and I've reviewed those already. And I have reviewed the lease with the current tenants for issues that we might have to address, but I cannot reveal the substance of that yet because it was done under a promise of confidentiality.
Understood.
Had there been something terrible in there, I would have asked to been able to reveal it, and I did not see anything terrible. So we're underway. I think the next step for you, though, will be to determine funding. Because my experience has been that municipalities do not use commercial mortgages because most commercial mortgages have a step up at 5 years or 10 years. There are very few, I mean, you won't get one that'll go beyond that I'm aware of, unless you're very lucky. That's why most everyone goes with a bond. Sometimes there is step-ups on the outer years of the bond, but the interest rates right now are phenomenally low. I've given Shane the names of 2 bond people that I have worked with in the past. I'll be willing to work with anyone else. That's irrelevant to me. I just want the job to be done right and quickly. I also agree with what Brent had said earlier. To try to do this in 120 days is borderline. I mean, you are really asking
It's tight.
it's very tight. But we've already jumped on it, so, I mean, we've got to start.
Thank you. Mr. Leibenberg?
Tonight's meeting, will it be available on the website tomorrow for anybody that couldn't be here tonight?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Will tonight's meeting be on the website tomorrow for anyone that couldn't be here tonight that would like to maybe see what information was put out?
Yeah, the video will be, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone want to make any other comments, statements? I have nothing further. Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion by Mr. Leibenberg, second by Mr. Brown. Discussion? All those in favor? We have 7 ayes. We are adjourned at 8:35. Thank you. You can be on the task force, Mr. Mayor. You can be on the task force. Oh, hell no.